Hey, hi, and welcome to a Stranger Things episode review and discussion. I am here with Ian, also known as Mega Geek, and
Hello.
I'm actually putting his link in the chat this time. If it actually turns into
Okay.
a link, did it? And I'm actually putting. Sorry. Wow. Well,
Mm.
I'm going to work on this link. Apologies. I'm getting better at my own moderating. You can tell. Uh, but yeah, no. Let's just jump right in. And see if we can get this done.
Yep. Yep.
But Ian, we want to start up.
Yeah. So we start off with Max and 11 looking at magazines and talking about Ralph Macchio. Do you remember
Oh
that?
yes. Super awkward, but also funny because of all the talk of the Cobra Kai.
Yeah. And what is this? Um and then they say, "Oh, we're wondering what the boys are doing now." And so Elle eavesdrops on them with her
Oh,
powers. And Lucas farts. um, and they're saying things like, we don't understand girls, they don't use logic, blah blah blah. And yeah, that's that scene. And then we cut to Hopper kicking in the door because he thinks Mike's in there.
oh, jeez.
But it's not. It's Max and 11, and he's very happy about that, isn't he?
Yes, he had to go out and kick his feet off, his shoes off, and be all like real chummy about that.
Well, he was a bit peeved because Joyce didn't turn up to his date, so he was a bit pissed. But once he saw Elle with Max, he was happy. So he just sat on his chair with a smile on his face. And then we go back into the bedroom and they're playing Spin the Bottle. Do you remember that game? Spin the Bottle?
Yeah.
But it was about kissing people when I was growing up.
Yeah, no, we also did the spin the bottle and then the, what is it, 6 minutes in heaven or like whatever, where you basically, whoever you get, you have to stand in a closet that long with that person.
That's six minutes in hell, isn't it? If you were someone you don't like.
But no, but of course these girls have like their own Stranger Things version of it.
Yeah.
Where they're sitting to see who to spy on.
Yes. And so they spin the bottle and it goes on Billy, doesn't it? Is it Billy?
Yes.
And so she uses her powers to eavesdrop on Billy and finds it very strange that he's looking down on the ground at someone, and she gets a bit spooked, doesn't she?
Yeah.
And cut to the credits, which is the case of the missing lifeguard. This is what this episode's called. Case of the missing lifeguard. Yeah. Are we on the track?
Yes. And after that, we go back to Mike's house. And Will is trying so hard to get them to play D&D.
Yes.
But it's not... I think that, yeah, so they give in. They... you can tell that the boys, just like, what is it? Well, Dustin is still not there. But Lucas and Mike don't want to play it. Obviously, they're all about their girls. But, at least they're, good bros. And they,
yeah, I think it's about, especially his story tale. Will's story tale is about growing up, isn't it? I mean, everybody has moved on mentally, but Will hasn't because of what happened to him. So Will still wants that friendship and feels a bit left out. So that's why he's kind of subtly suggesting that they play this game, and he plays this music in the morning, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And they wake up and there's this music playing, and he's dressed in a, what is it, like a wizard?
Yeah. Will is clearly into LARPing.
Yeah, but it's not his fault, as I said. He's had a hard time, isn't he, before all this, and now he's back with the group. Doesn't seem like the group wants to wants to keep the group alive. They seem to have different interests, and he's still stuck in the past, isn't he?
Yeah.
And the rest of them have moved on. So anyway, so so we cut so we cut back to Hopper. He's in the shower.
Yeah.
And he does that thing that you like. He comes out the shower like with a towel around him with his belly sticking out, and he goes to the fridge, and instead of drinking beer this time, he drinks milk, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah. He's getting a little bit better at cough cough.
Yeah.
I was just afraid the whole time that he would have forgot that Elle was there with Max.
Yeah.
I think God they weren't.
No. So Joyce comes in and and starts spouting a lot of stuff, and she gets all these magnets and she tries to stick it to his fridge and it falls down. But Hopper is focused on her sort of like ditching him for the date for Mr. Flanders, as I call him. I can't remember his name.
Oh yeah, she actually said his name. It's Mr. Clark.
Yeah.
Clark.
Yeah. So yes, Hopper is not happy at all. And Joyce is trying to explain, look, there are bigger things than me and you having a date. Things are, there's a huge magnet somewhere. She thinks that the lab is still active. And so Hopper is like, yeah, whatever. And he goes into his room and he starts changing his clothes and obviously spouting out about how she dumped him last night. And he comes out and she's gone. Sorry?
I thought she like completely left. And I was like, well, he deserves it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and then he goes out there and she comes out the shed with some cable cutters and whatever, and she says she's going to the lab, and Hopper's like, whoa, wait, he's putting his shoes on and stuff because he's going to go with her. But again, I don't know what, I may be wrong, okay, right, because this was made when was this made? Was it 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
Maybe 3. I don't
3 years
know. It doesn't feel that long.
Again, it's just all the males are stupid in this.
Yeah.
And it's really grating on me. Hopper was far more I wouldn't say intelligent, but driven in the last 2 series. He was far more, I mean, just I don't know. What do you think? Am I seeing too much into this?
No. I mean, like, it's definitely. Oh, my dog has an opinion too, but I totally agree that it's very apparent in this, and it's getting more so. And I looked it up. They announced season 3 in 2017, but they were pretty much filming like into 2018. So I think that was kind of like the trickling effect of the beginning of like, we should be happy that it didn't affect it more.
But there's this bit in it which I won't say now. When we get to it, there's this bit in it where literally I had my hands in my head going, ugh. But when we'll get to it, I'll let you know. But anyway, so Joyce and Hopper, they go back to the lab. Meanwhile, 11 and Max go looking for Billy. And what's the girl's name? I can't remember her name.
Oh, Max L. Oh no, the girl.
Yeah.
Heather, I think. Is her name?
But it's not Barbara, is it? I can't remember. Is it Heather? Yeah, is it Heather?
No, I think. What is the girl's name?
I can't remember.
It's Heather.
Is it Heather?
The lifeguard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the lifeguard. Yeah. So they go looking for, and they go to is it the place where he works?
Yeah.
No, they don't. I'm sorry. They go to Billy's place.
Yeah, his bedroom.
They find ice in the bathtub, don't they? And 11 gets a bit suspicious. And then they look in the drawer and they find Heather's thing. I don't know what it was. What was it? Like a little purse?
Pack.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact word, but they use it to hold all their like little accoutrements at us.
Right. So they find that, and she gets more suspicious. And then we cut to Jonathan and Nancy's talking to the staff or the the hierarchy. So talking about the little rat and Mrs. Driscoll and stuff like that, and they take the mickey out of her. Especially her boss, the number one boss, takes the mickey out of him. You think he's agreeing with her, but then he goes left, doesn't he? And really does take the piss out of her, and they all laugh at her and stuff like that. So yeah, that's not nice for Nancy Drew. That's what they call her. But yeah. Now, what happens after that? I can't remember now.
Let's see. My dog barking. No, we cut back to the mall. And Lucas's sister, I never remember her name.
Oh, right.
They're trying to bum ice cream again.
Yeah.
But Robin is just like, now I'm done, which, totally.
Yeah. And Steve and Dustin is spying on people because they're trying to find Russians in the mall.
Yeah. And it's one of those like awkward pair situations, I guess. And,
well, Dustin brings up because Steve's meant to be looking for Russians, but he sees someone from school, doesn't he? And he like says, "Oh, why is she dating him?" and stuff like that. And Dustin is telling him, "Look, maybe you should go out with someone you actually like rather than someone that everybody can say you're cool with her," and stuff like that. Do you remember that scene?
Coming off of Dustin, Yeah. Like, look for someone you like, man. Don't go for the popularity. And then Steve was a jerk about it. He knew it. He was thinking it. You could tell, but he didn't want to admit that Dustin was right.
Yeah, but he says, what about that girl? Your new girlfriend. Did you not get her because of the advice I gave you? He said to him. But again, why is Steve there? Why? What purpose does Steve serve in this story? Anyway, we won't go down that road because we've already been down that road.
He's tofu. He's Roman, he doesn't actually like do any flavor to a food, but he's supposed to be protein. He only ever eats like the food he's with. So if he's with somebody, he's helping those people, but he doesn't ever do anything with himself.
That's true. And so we go back to Mike's house, and they're playing Dungeons and Dragons, and the guys don't want to play. That's Lucas and Mike, and Will's really getting into it, and then he gets upset, and then he runs. Well, basically not runs away, but just leaves them. And this is the scene I was talking about. They're in the garage, and it's raining. And Will says, we've grown up, we're not kids anymore. And this is the bit that I've just put my hands in my head when he said to him, because you don't like girls doesn't mean to say we don't like girls. What is that suggesting? The line he said was, "It's not my fault you don't like girls." Are they saying Will is gay? And that's the thing, you see, now today you have to question these things. It's so annoying.
Yeah, I like that. It doesn't, I don't know. It sounds like something that two best friends might talk about, or like maybe Will has, said something to Mike in the past or something. They're like best friends or something. But I know that I think he meant he was just like, you would understand why we're into our girls, but you don't have them,
I don't know. It's a very suspicious, that piece of dialogue, very, very suspicious. As I said, only because of what's happening now. As I said, I might be seeing too much into it, but it just felt wrong to me when I heard him say that. I mean, it really did. It really did great with me.
Well, right. I mean, it could have been written, but it was unnecessary in the point, because the point is that Will he wants their attention, and they're not giving it to him. But he didn't.
But why would you say that though?
For it, he could have just been like, you just don't have a girlfriend, period,
That's it. That's my
Yeah.
point. Why didn't he say that? But this is exactly what he said. It's not my fault you don't like girls. So, what does that mean?
Yeah. It's like a super awkward line. I don't It's really hard
Yeah.
to understand why it's there.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Defenders
yes.
of the Earth has a suggestion. He
Mm.
he says that maybe it just means that Will hasn't grown up yet. That could be a way to look at it in the 80s, and
No,
what
because
think.
in and also it's out of context as well. Because I remember in the 80s, if you were gay, right, you still had that there was still that stigma against gay people in the 80s. Not so much today. Today it's kind of widely accepted. Only idiots would pick on, on people's sexual preferences, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
But today it's more widely accepted. It's on TV shows and stuff like that, and we don't think anything of it. But in the 80s, it was still frowned upon. The 70s even worse. So I mean, I'm not talking about Hollywood because I don't know about Hollywood. All I can talk about is where I came from, where I grew up. If somebody was different and they were very feminine. I remember we used to have this kid in our school, and this was primary school.
mm-hmm.
And there was this boy in our class. He was very feminine, and they used to call him all kinds of names. So it was a thing that was frowned upon in the 70s and the 80s, especially the beginning 80s. So just to have that line in it, it really bothers me. It's not my fault. This is exactly what he said. It's not my fault if you don't like girls. Why didn't he say it's not my fault that you don't have a girlfriend? Do you see
Yeah.
my point?
Yeah, I mean, I could deep dive into that one, but maybe we have a whole discussion about Will's sexuality and Stranger Things.
Anyway, we'll move on because I don't want to stick with that. But I'm just going to put the thought into people's heads there about that line because it is very, very suspicious in my opinion. But there you go. So moving on, 11 and Max is looking for Heather, and she eavesdrops on. She turns all the showers on, then she eavesdrops to try and find out where Heather is because she's got a picture of Heather, right?
Mm.
So I don't get that.
Yeah,
So
they stopped at the pool
mm,
and they were trying to find Heather, and then they said that Heather hadn't showed up, and so that's why I think they go to the pool first, and that's where
yeah.
they go. Showers there.
So yeah. So she eavesdrops. We're using her powers again, and she sees a red door, and she sees Heather in the bathtub with ice. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then she sees her getting, pulled into the void, so to speak, and then she comes out of it, obviously distressed. And then we got Hopper and Joyce. They're in the lab, and Joyce sees a flashback of Bob getting killed, which always makes me giggle.
It's his favorite scene in all of Stranger Things.
Yeah. I don't know whether they reshot that scene or it was a clip from the other episode because it does look like a new clip. It does look like they got Sean in to do that bit.
Yeah, they could.
It,
I mean, it isn't. Some shows will do that, and it'll be kind of noticeable because like something just seems a little off, like they filmed it later or something.
yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it was like a different angle or something.
Yeah. So Steve Steve and Dustin see this guy who looks like the guy out of Die Hard, the big blonde guy out of Die Hard that Bruce Willis has a fight with at the ending, and follows him because they think he's a Russian, and it turns out he's is it yoga? No.
Some sort of power, like workout instructor.
Instructor. Turns out he's a workout instructor. And then Robin works out the code.
Oh, yeah.
So again, boys useless, girls clever. Is this a running trait that we have in this show? But anyway, whatever. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's so much more apparent.
Well, as I said, I may be seeing too much into this, and they may have written it the people that writing it, maybe they didn't have this agenda in it. Maybe it's just by the by. But thing is, I think I doubt it now, since knowing when this started and all that. It started a very long time ago. But anyway, it was gradually getting into our TV shows. But anyway, should move on from there, I guess. So Robin works it out that it's a Chinese restaurant, and then it was kind of some other place, whatever, and she works out the code, right?
Yeah. They're like they're different restaurants in the mall the food court, I guess.
Yeah. And then we cut back to Nancy, and she opens the cupboard, and there's a rubber rat in there, and everybody starts laughing at her and making her feel like a little girl, and they're all like, oh, Nancy Drew, blah blah blah. So Nancy decides to take poor old Jonathan with a bad haircut. Have you not noticed his haircut? Oh, she's gone silent.
Sorry, I sneezed when you asked that
all
question.
Right, it's all right. Do you notice Jonathan's haircut?
Oh, it's awful.
It's like they put a bow on his head and they just cut around it. It's crazy.
It is a haircut from back then. It's just embarrassing. It's on such an older guy.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. So Hopper and Joyce, so they're talking in the lab, and Hopper is saying to her, I know you put the house on the market and you want to move out of Hawkins and stuff like that, but you realize people love you here and blah, blah, blah. And he explains how he left his family and came back to this crappy town and all that sort of heart-to-heart stuff. But then they hear a noise, don't they? And Hopper decides to investigate, because they're supposed to be the only ones in the lab, but there's somebody else in the lab. What else? Will is having a hard time, and he goes in his little shed thing. You remember that scene?
Oh yeah, Castle Byers.
Yeah.
And he starts wrecking it.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't understand why I understand why he's upset, but why is he that upset? Have I missed something?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it could just be them trying to show that there was like an accumulation of his frustration. To me, like, at least the destruction part seems like he's angry at himself more than his friends, because he's destroying all of his crayon pictures and stuff.
But why? All right, so you're upset that your friends don't want to play him, and he's upset that his friends are, not together again. But why would you destroy all that stuff? It's a bit melodramatic.
Yeah.
That was a really sad moment. It was.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess they were trying to get his emotions across, but it did seem a little over the top.
Yeah.
But, he's going through some things. I can't say I've ever been possessed by a dark cloud monster before. Just kidding.
But no, I really don't understand why he got that angry. He was looking at the pictures of him, Ghostbusters, and they showed clips when they were dressed as Ghostbusters and stuff like that. And as I said, if you're angry with your friends, like if I was angry with my friends, I wouldn't go home and smash my computer or tear up pictures and stuff. I don't know. It just didn't compute with me. I mean, it seems very melodramatic. I don't know.
Well, maybe it shows that he really hasn't grown up. Maybe that's the point. Like, he's literally having a temper tantrum.
Yeah, maybe you may be right. I don't know, but as I said, that scene didn't work for me. But anyway, that's just me, I guess.
And Mike and Lucas do go to his house, but he doesn't answer. But it does show that they are, they're concerned.
Also, it's really weird, as you said last 2 weeks ago, how Will he went for a traumatic experience in the first season and the second season, and he goes home and there's no one home. His mum's not home. It's raining. It looks like hell, and he's left all on his own. That's just That's just not cricket, right? That's
Yeah,
crazy.
that is actually, well, it's like they slipped back into their old ways in a way, because like in the first season, Joyce assumed that Jonathan would take care of Will if she wasn't home.
Yeah.
But again, Nancy's dragging Jonathan off doing stuff, and Joyce is running off getting distracted with crazy stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, that is ridiculous, all considering. Oh, and we haven't mentioned that he's got like little arm goosebumps or whatever,
Yeah.
chills.
But that doesn't come yet, does it? That comes later on, because the next scene is Jonathan and Nancy. They go to Mrs. Driscoll's house, and when they go down in the basement, she wasn't answering. She was eating. Was she eating the pesticide?
Yes, yes. She was just working out on it. Yes.
Yeah, that was pretty. What's Defender of the Faith say there?
That was pretty inconsistent considering how paranoid Joyce what is about Will's well-being. Totally, yeah. It's also inconsistent with what she's saying this season, because like the idea is that she wants to feel safe, and like she's just running off and not even checking to see if her kids are home. At the very least, she could call. Like that's what my mom used to do back in the day. She'd call the house, you know.
I mean, definitely. The this is the third episode we've seen on the third season, isn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely this season is suffering from so-so writing, in my opinion. Season 2 was good. Season 1 was absolutely brilliant, but this season seems a bit, I don't know, it just seems, as I said, just illogical things like that. You'd think that Joyce would be worried about Will since he's been through such a lot of crap, and she'd want to be home for him instead of running around with Hopper. But anyway, that's by the by, I guess. So Mrs. Driscoll looked like she was possessed. She's eating the pesticide. Robin, Steve, and Dustin, they find the Russians all armed to the teeth with guns and stuff.
Oh yeah, very inconspicuous in the back of the mall.
Yeah. So but I don't yeah. So they've obviously got a tunnel from the mall to wherever their hideout is. So we got that, and they almost get caught as well, but they're gone. Hopper looks for the intruder and gets his ass kicked.
So that's
by Terminator 2.
Hopper can only deliver 2 mean right hooks. Any kind of other fighting, he is just a glass jaw, apparently.
Yeah. But that's the thing, you see. Again, is it just me? They even dismantled Hopper's manhood, in my opinion, because before Hopper, you throw 1-2 punches, that guy's down, and in this, he's completely useless. He's not even drinking beer or smoking cigarettes anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just, man, I'm looking in too much of it. That's probably what I'm doing anyway. So Hopper gets his ass kicked by the T2 guy.
Sorry, we're totally keeping that for this guy.
Yeah, T2, Mr. T2, and he goes away on his bike, like T2, of course. And then Joyce comes in the nick of time. Well, not in the nick of time. She comes, so she doesn't help Hopper because he gets his ass kicked.
At least she didn't come in and save him by knocking the guy out.
But I think that comes later, does it? Yeah. Right. So Max and 11 get to Heather's place because they're worried about Heather.
Yeah.
And they meet Billy and Heather and Heather's parents. And Billy's looking all fresh and clean. He's not sweating anymore.
Oh, yeah. The twist is that her parent, like her dad, is the boss, Nancy's boss.
At
the newspaper.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Whoa, small world.
Yeah, very small town. So they meet up with them, and it seems that Heather is okay. She's made cookies, and they're having lunch, and it's a very pleasant time.
It's a super creepy, happy family moment.
Yeah. So he introduces the family to Max and So Max and Eleven was about to say something, but Max stops her, and they leave. Obviously knowing what's going on, and Billy has a flashback of 11 closing the rift in season 2. So he's not happy, obviously, or whatever the entity's taking over his body is not happy. But anyway, after that scene, the mother decides she wants to go to her bedroom because she's not feeling well, and she falls to the ground. She's been poisoned. Remember that?
Yes, yeah.
And then the father is upset, so he goes running to see what's wrong with his wife. And Heather comes along with a big bottle and slams it in his head.
Yeah.
And he's kind of dazed, and then she chloroforms him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the poor, well, he deserved it anyway. But he deserved it because he was teasing Nancy, and you know, he was a horrible human being, wasn't he? That guy.
That's true. That is kind of a moment of like a little vindication. I mean, like I don't feel that badly. I mean, like horrible about him, but it does kind of feel like ha.
Yeah. I mean, he deserved it. Let's put it that way. He deserved it. So, sorry.
Twist is supposed to kind of be like, as a viewer, we know more about Heather's position and like what happened to her. So like maybe the twist is more of like when they see her, they're just like, oh, because they've been just like guessing at this point because they've never seen her dead in Elle's visions. They've been really random. But like here they see her, and so it's like, oh, but you in your head are going, well, this isn't right. And but then when she walks her dad over, it's like, oh, okay, there we go.
But
make something in the cookies.
yeah. But they so Heather takes out her dad with chloroform, and he faints, and Billy's, I think, looks out the window, and you have the American Pie song playing, which is quite funny. It plays over the credits at the ending, and that was the end of that episode. You see, this episode was better than last week's episode, because last week's episode did drag a bit, but this episode, I don't know, it bothered me a lot more than the last episode because of things creeping in that I don't know. Maybe, as I said, maybe I'm seeing too much into it. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I imagine as the plot amps up, we'll definitely see more of that. I mean, yeah, because I mean, this episode in particular, like, well, that's because there's always similarities in the progress of the characters in each episode. So like there's the one storyline with Steve and Dustin and Robin where they actually make progress. Yeah. But at the same time, you have the other storylines where it's like Nancy and Jonathan, like, they're screwing up. They aren't getting it right. So they're like in between. Like they're getting somewhere, but they're not doing it good. And then the adults are just blundering around like idiots.
Yeah, they are. And what's interesting is that when they go to the house, Levin and Max, and they look at Billy's place, you see all these Playboy magazines that he's got. And as I said, again, it's I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. This episode really grated with me, especially that line. That line, I was just like, what the hell? That line that it's not my fault you don't like girls. That was just, I don't know, that kind of really grated with me. But as I said, it might be because I'm insecure and I hate women and and I hate gay people and all that rubbish. You know what I mean? And all that stuff that you get accused of when you criticize things like this. But this whole episode was all the men are stupid, all the girls were clever.
Yeah, and see at the bottom line, it's like, it's not the surface stuff; it's the writing itself is what is someone can criticize. And these characters, regardless of gender, the ones that happen to be women, are being written in a way that is not. It doesn't feel organic. and it
Mm.
seems forced.
As I said, right, last week had a big hole in the plot that we discussed, not last week, the week before, when 11 met Max, and that didn't make any sense to me at all,
Yeah.
because she doesn't like Max, and suddenly she's talking to Max. Suddenly she finds Max's house easily, so that didn't make any sense to me. I don't know. I don't know.
Boy. Well, what would you? I know you. What would you rate it as far as episodes go? Like based off of your feelings for it.
Well, I'd probably give this a 4, and that's being generous. As I said, this felt like a chore to watch this episode. Last week didn't feel like a chore, but last week was a non-entity episode. It just didn't feel like it had any weight. It felt like they were wasting time to me. They're just filling time, and things didn't make any sense. They were put there so the story could move forward. As I said, like it could have been, 11 didn't have to break up with Mike. It could have been Mike and 11 discovering these things. Do you know what I mean? Rather than Max and 11, because Max is not part of the gang, and why would you go to Max? That's the question. So, and that's the question: is this stupid agenda being played into this? Because we all know it didn't start in 2020. It started like 5 or 6 years ago. It was creeping into our shows. So I don't know.
I could give it some credit, like maybe goodwill, as far as like maybe originally it didn't look as much like that, and maybe it's more of a coincidence, because I guess if you look at season 1, the way the characters figure things out, Nancy does, but the plot makes sense for her to figure it out in that season.
Yeah.
Same with Joyce, and Elle obviously is a leading female character for her own stuff. But and then season 2, it's more crazy stuff going on. But this season, I think that they're still going off of the season 1 bit of it, where like the women happen to be those characters that still have the same driving force, I guess.
No,
but it just seems awkward.
But you look at season 1, okay, right? There were women and girls, and they had faults too. Like, for instance, Nancy's character in season 1, she was a real bitch to her best friend, and she seemed more real because she had faults. And obviously she hold on, what's he say here? Maybe he hates women so much. Is a good way to say it. Yeah. But I was just saying that if you look at season 1 very carefully, all the girls, they weren't perfect, if you know what I mean, right? So Nancy's character was a real bitch too. Who's her best friend? I can't remember. Barbara.
Yeah, Barbara.
Barbara, and Barbara had a bit of fault with her as well. But at the end of the day, she redeemed herself, didn't she? And she became her own person through that journey. And she became her own person. And it's the same thing with Steve as well. Steve was an arse. And then he was put in a situation where he had to face the extraordinary events that was happening. And the same thing with Will and 11. 11 went through hardship, and when the people came in and killed that guy that she made friends with in the first place, having the trauma of remembering Papa and all that stuff. So every character in season 1 were growing. There wasn't one character that was far superior to another. All the genders had faults, male and female. The second one, same thing, but the story was a bit contrite. This one, it's all on one side. Am I seeing things here? What do you reckon, Finn? Am I seeing things?
Ah, man. I guess we can keep looking for it as we keep going. But I mean, no. I mean, there's clearly some stuff going there. Stuff awry.
You think? As I said, I really don't know. But anyway, this episode, it was all right. It wasn't great, But what would you give it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was kind of low on that last one too.
Mm.
And at least that last one, it kind of felt like there was more coherentness to it, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
I gave that one, I think I gave it a 5.
Right.
But yeah, I would give this one a 4 too. Because I always kind of, 5 is like obviously a fail on the number scale, but at the same time, 5 for me is one that I would be okay to sit through again. So unless there's an episode that I'm just like, ugh, you know.
But also, what's the point of Robin? You could have taken out Robin and just had Steve with some bloke he was working with at the ice cream thing, and it could have been Dustin and Steve's journey, and Steve could have, discovered the Russian thing and made the connections and stuff like that. Would have given Steve more of a purpose
Mm-hmm.
in this one, but it's not. They've got this character called Robin who we don't know, we've never known because she's new, and suddenly she's an extra character, which you don't really need that character at all
Mm-hmm.
in the big scheme of things. They could have passed all that on to Steve because Steve is still a non-entity.
It's true.
If you took Steve out, it wouldn't matter to the story.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, Jonathan is really just driving Miss Nancy at this point.
Exactly. And Jonathan's doing nothing as well. He seems to be this soft, and he was like that in season 1, of course, right? But you would think he'd grow some balls by now, and he's still going on Nancy's say so, isn't he? He's still under Nancy's control.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not bad in itself, but still, it seems, if you could compare the lines that Jonathan had compared to Nancy's, I'm pretty sure that Jonathan's lines in this episode doesn't even consist of 1 page. But Nancy's lines, yeah, about half a page. I'm just saying, obviously, to me, I don't know. There's a lot of questions here. Obviously, I'm going beyond the show. We're supposed to be only talking about the show, but again, these things bother me. When I get my Columbo Mac on and my cigar, and just one thing, man, that's what happens. I kind of I kind of see things. I just can't unsee. So anyway, whatever, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, we're all giving it pretty low scores, so I approve.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I guess this is it'll be a shorter episode today, but I think we just whizzed through it because there really wasn't that much substance to sink our teeth into.
No, not really. No.
The
Yeah.
next episode will hopefully give us some more goodies. We at least have some progress on one of the storylines, which is Nancy and Jonathan.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, so do you have any predictions?
No, as I said, me and you have seen this season, and I can't remember it fully.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to rewatch and see what it's actually given us, as a show. So I don't know. I do like Stranger Things, but as I said, I think even when I saw it the first time around, I thought season 3 was the weakest out of the out of all of them. So
Definitely.
yeah.
But thank you again, and I put the link in chat a few times, and I'll put it again. Definitely go check out Ian. I failed the last several streams to actually give it to you guys.
I've got a film up. I've got a film up on my channel called Bad Day. It's a feature. It's a feature I made over 10 years ago. It was the first time we shot on digital. It was when digital was coming out. So we were given this Panasonic equipment. It's a dinosaur compared to what they use now. But yeah, it's worth watching. It's a homage to cop movies, 70s and 60s cop movies. So you should check it out when you get the chance. You should check it out, Finn, when you get the chance.
All right, I know I watched a couple, but yeah, I need to get back in there. I'm sorry.
That's all right. It's all right.
But yeah, no. So you guys, thanks again. We won't be going next week, but the week after. It's like in every other schedule.
Yep.
And I'll tweet about it beforehand. So to make it a little bit easier to know when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I appreciate everybody for coming in.
Thank you very much for coming in. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian, for being a awesome co-host here.
Yeah.
It's always nice to pick your brain.
Yep.
But y'all have a good afternoon.